Hi, everybody, and welcome. My name is Darrell Hull with the University of North Texas, and welcome to the North Texas Learning Curve podcast on behalf of the Trend Network. I'm here with my sidekick for today, Dr. Carrie Allen.
Hello.
Hi, Carrie.
Hi.
Welcome. This is her first podcast with me, and I'm super excited that she's going to be joining me.
Maiden voyage.
Yep.
Yeah.
But you're going to be joining me a lot now.
Yes.
Awesome. I'm so excited. And then our special guest for today is Dr. Yueyue Fan from Prosper ISD.
Hello.
Hey, and thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time to drive all the way over here and meet with us. I know
Glad to be here.
you're just getting started, right?
Yes, I'm just getting started.
Okay. She just gets going back to school this week, so here we are right in the dead middle of the summer, and we're already thinking about going back to school, which is just like eye roll.
Yeah.
Summer just goes by so fast.
It does.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about how we were like amazed at how quickly the summer has passed, and here we are.
Yeah, it never lasts long enough for me.
No.
Although I still have some trips planned.
I believe that.
I'm going to make it to Colorado before this summer is out.
I heard the weather is beautiful.
That's good. That's good. Because I need some good to my summer after my early part of the summer.
You can tag along if you need some.
Let me ask my wife about that,
Okay,
see what she has to say. All right. Well, listen, I want to kind of get into this because I know we're a little bit limited on time today. But we've already had conversations before about Trend and a thing called TIN, the Texas Evaluation Network.
Yes.
And so part of our conversation today, I really want to touch on that. But I do want to also touch on you and your background and a little bit about what you do at Prosper ISD, because I think that's pretty relevant today as well. I think our listeners would probably appreciate hearing a little bit about that. So can you just briefly kind of, I guess, tell us a little bit about what you're doing or your role at Prosper ISD?
So the official title of my role is Director of Assessment Accountability.
Okay.
So what I do in my district is that as a department, we help support the data conversation in our district, trying to see, we collect so much data in education, and then there's so much assessment data we have. What can we use? What can we do to make the best of the data we have to help us find some insights, to figure out how can we best support teachers to support student growth. So that's kind of the primary role we do, is make sure the data is accurate, making sure that we use the right analysis to help find insights to support our student growth in our district.
I'm curious because with other folks who are in different district positions, I know there's a lot of data that they're collecting. And I'm wondering for you, like in Prosper, like what are those data that are coming in? Are there particular forms that you are most sort of interested in helping teachers translate into their practice?
Well, as a school district, we collect a wide range of data, starting from the demographics, right? If you're thinking about, do you have a child? Do you have a child?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when you're thinking about filling out the application,
Mm-hmm.
imagine you have to put in first name, last name, date of birth, and all of that. Race, ethnicities, those are big demographic data that we have. And then based on students' participation in different programs, if the student is receiving special education, if the student is receiving interventions, those are different kind of the program participation data that we collected. And another set of data we collect is assessment data.
Okay.
We test the students to see where the students are, figuring out what can we do to best support the students. And then, so assessment data is a big part of it, and then the other thing would be just attendance. Are your kids in school? And then discipline. So it's a variety of data.
How much of the data you're collecting is actually mandated that you collect by the state of Texas, and how much of it is like district determined?
That one, I don't know if I know the correct answer, but I'm assuming, because every year we do a lot of
Like the
reporting to the
stars got to be
state.
collected by the state.
Yes, and then we do a lot of PEMS reporting. I'm assuming the majority of the data elements that PEMS require you to submit to the state, like the demographics and program participation, probably are mandated
Okay.
in there.
I want to follow up though real quick to that, which is if you have some kind of district level, well, I'm curious if you have some district level initiatives, so maybe that's something we want to talk about in a minute.
Yeah,
But if
sure.
you have one, then are there specific types of data that you're collecting relative to that initiative? Or is it mostly like, hey, we're implementing some kind of initiative and then we're gonna look at the assessment data to tell us about that? Does that question make sense?
Yes, I think in the situation where a district initiating some initiative, having a new initiative, we will collect some data. We'll try to see what can we use that we already have. Because actual data collection always takes time and always takes resources.
Yeah.
One thing we're working really hard is protecting the instructional time.
Yeah.
We want our teachers to teach students rather than, hey, collecting all these data for a purpose that we use. So I think a good practice is first to see what we can use from what we already have. But then sometimes to answer some of the questions, you don't have data readily available. That will be a situation we'll collect it so that we can answer a question and then we can evaluate the effectiveness of these initiatives or these programs.
Yeah.
And then we're collecting for good purposes rather than just collecting to collect it.
How big is your department? I mean,
Two.
just two, and
Yes.
you're like in one of the fastest growing areas, like it is exploding.
It's huge.
Prosper is
Yeah.
going bananas right now, right?
Small and mighty, we're doing a lot of tasks involved.
That's a
but we're
lot,
learning.
yeah, for two people to handle all of that.
And that's
I think
kind
people
of,
in other districts would sympathize because they,
yes, so oftentimes it's department one or two in districts. I know, I think isn't it McKinney's department of one?
I
Yeah.
think so.
Right?
yeah, Becky by herself
Yeah.
over in McKinney, yeah.
Mhm.
Uh-huh. And then I think in Denton's like department one or two too.
Plano, I think, has 4,
Yeah, Plano is a bigger.
but still, it's not a lot.
Is
you know.
Plano quite a bit bigger?
Plano's pretty
I think
big,
so.
and they're well
They will.
established. They've been around longer, so
And I
maybe.
know in Arlington, it's pretty big too.
Yeah, Janae's got a pretty good
Mm-hmm.
size staff in Arlington. Actually.
Well, I like that you're thinking about how to protect teachers' instructional time and not just giving them, like layering on another thing to do, right? And thinking about, well, what do we already have in place that we can draw on to try to, understand how things are going and
Right.
direction. Well,
I'm going to switch horses here for a second and talk about just districts in general and your thoughts on this. Because you were previously at Grand Prairie ISD before this, right?
I worked in Irving and Grand Prairie.
And Irving before that. So you've got quite a bit of different, varied experience in districts in the DFW area, for sure. So, and this builds on some things that you and I were talking about just a while ago before we got going here today, which is districts doing studies, maybe empirical studies, to look at the interventions that they're implementing to see how well they're working. Do you think districts do, I think I know the answer to this question, do you think districts do enough of that?
Not really, but districts are very limited on time on the resources that
Yeah.
we have. I think districts are trying their best, but if you're thinking about when your district serving 30,000 students, serving 50,000 students, having one person in the department, having two people in the department with all the different requests, trying to understand, is this program effective? You might have 20 programs you're gonna look at. There is a very limited resources, have to stretch very thin across the district. So do I think all the districts have enough resources allocated for that? Probably not at this moment.
Okay, so that brings up another question. Because yes, I can agree with you that limited resources are an issue for not conducting enough empirical studies to see what interventions are working. But what about, I'll ask the elephant in the room question, about vulnerability. Like how vulnerable are districts willing to be in terms of testing interventions that they have going on? Like, do they really want to know, or are they afraid maybe in some instances to know if the intervention's working or not?
I think based on my limited experience, all the districts I've worked at are very willing to be vulnerable in this.
That's
Because
good.
we have limited resources, and then when you're thinking about you're gonna spend something on let's say a platform you buy, like the application you buy, there are times where you really need to think about, am I getting anything out of it? And then a lot of districts will actually do internal evaluation projects to looking at, okay, hey, we purchased district lessons for this software supposed to help students with their math learning. Like one of the projects we kind of worked on years ago is first, let's look at, are people using it? right? How many unique users you have, how much time they spend on
Yeah.
the year. And then if you can look at their performance before they start, like at the beginning of the year, before they use it, after, is there any differences? Or compared to somebody who's not using it, do you see any differences? So they are interested in knowing it. Capacity is a big limitation, and then the resources is another big issue. So I think districts are vulnerable. For example, in Prosper, we're a big PLC district. One of the keystone of PLC is it needs to be results driven, which you have to use data to make the decision.
Sure.
We're trying really hard to be there, but there are definitely instances where when you don't have the resources, don't have the capacity, you can run descriptive, which is relatively simple.
Yeah.
Everybody can do an average, compare them to groups,
Yeah.
right? But is that really the best way to do? Might not necessarily be. If the group differences are really big, sometimes you can come from and say, hey, I know group A is doing better than group B, but then when there are kind of here and there, this group might not be the one
Yeah,
telling you the
well,
right answer.
I feel like I get the sense from both school leaders and teachers that they are hungry to understand what they're looking at. It's sort of like they do want to know, but then they just don't have the time or capacity to sort of sift through it all and sort of say, well then what does that mean for, like, how am I just making sense of this thing that I'm looking at? But then B, what do I do with it then? Like, how do I translate into something that's actionable? And I feel like when talking with principals especially, there's this sense of I kind of don't know what I don't know. And then sometimes I want to just know what is the research on this topic, because I do care, and this is what I'm seeing from, data I'm getting from like iReady or something, right? This is what I'm noticing with my teachers or with my students, but then like is iReady good? Should I be trying something else? Just some of those questions, it can feel overwhelming, I think.
I totally agree with you. Actually, as a matter of fact, I had that similar moment like last semester, because I was taking a data science certificate courses from UPenn,
Oh, yeah.
and then I have to learn, oh my god, so many different things.
It was
like
good?
models, it was really good, but
SQL
very
and all that kind
overwhelming.
of stuff.
Very overwhelming. And then one of the sections, I was kind of halfway through the program. There was one part we were learning about predictive modeling, or like the big data. And they're talking about how the algorithm can have bias, and then you need to understand A, B, C, D to make sure that if the algorithm is not biased, and just to understand it. And it makes me realize we use a lot of, we use NWA map, which is a computer adaptive testing that tells you what the students are needing support in certain areas. And those are, these are algorithms built in within the platform. But have I ever spent time to looking at those? No. And then the
with your map scores?
No, we do look at map scores, but do I look into the algorithm behind it
and how
to
the items are
understand
selected?
how
Item
they're
selection
developing
routines
all
and
that?
stuff?
No. And I don't think I can even understand it.
Yeah.
So we do not know what we don't know.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
then you kind of make the best out of the situation you have.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's administrators and teachers are very busy.
Well, it makes me think too about, I'm curious for you if you imagine, I imagine at the district level, there's only 2 of you, right? And you think about how you might sort of distribute support to school leaders and to teachers in a way that helps them distill, what does this mean and what do I do with it? Well, you're really limited in what you could do. I'm curious, I'm kind of curious, how you're thinking about that and what structures you have in place currently for kind of like pushing information out, or kind of offering that support. But then also what's kind of not working, or where do you not have enough in that current model? And if you could kind of dream and imagine your ideal, what would that be? That's like a 5-point question or something, but hopefully you followed my
Right.
Yeah.
And I think what will be ideal, my dreams will be we'll have more capacity to help us answer the questions that we currently do not have the capacity to answer. And then, because there's always, for example, we do summer schools, but is our summer school being effective in providing, like,
Mm.
helping students to support with their learning. We did some district internally. We look at the data. We have a before summer school assessment and after. We look at the performance between before and after. But then we don't have 2 months to look at the summer program because we're always on the run.
You're
Yeah.
on tap for fall as soon as
I know,
summer's over with.
it's, yeah, well, it's currently July and you're back to school for the fall.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we might be able to spend 7 hours on this, but then you will know. So looking at the effectiveness program is not 7 hours work.
Yeah.
Right? If you want to do a comprehensive evaluation of it, you got to understand is the fatalities there, is what is happening, is the student engagement making
Yeah.
it. In my ideal dream, we'll be able to have more resources to answer those questions or potentially collaborate with Trent
Yeah.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
get those questions answered.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Oh, I was gonna get you to expand a little bit more on what that kind of collaboration probably looks like then with Trent.
Mm-hmm.
Or what would you hope it would look
What
like?
I would hope is if I'm speaking from the perspective of someone working with a district, I will wish Trent to be able to, every district, you will have certain initiatives, right? And then you have questions that you just wonder, just might not have the right resources or right now might not be the right time
Mm-hmm.
or people to actually get that question answered. Trent to be the person that provide the extra expertise in research and methodology. And then school district work through Trend, we can understand, answer some of the questions we have, and at the same time, Trend can get the data, be able to understand, hey, this is what happened in this district. Is that something that's gonna happen in other district? Can we generalize it? Can we
Mm-hmm.
figure something out that might be useful for other people to know as well?
Yeah.
How much latitude do you think you could provide? Like if we had, let's say I'm gonna have potentially seven doctoral students working in the Office of Research Consulting with me this fall. If, and some of them would surely love to work with real data. How much latitude could they get in terms of specifying, say, a research design?
I think it depends on who you work with.
Okay.
And then in some situations where the program is already set, let's say it's initiative a district has already been doing.
Mm-hmm.
And in that situation, if I would recommend, it's probably going to having their research design fit what has been going.
Okay, so it needs to be an observational study probably more than
Yes.
some kind of pre-specified design.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then, because it's very unlikely you will think a district will change. It's because all these initiatives have pre-thought, right? How they're gonna implement, and then typically it's over years. It's not something you do in 1 year.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe over years, so like, yeah, let's work with the district first to do some observational studies with existing data.
Mm-hmm.
And then once we find something,
That's the
or
trick.
don't find something,
Mm-hmm.
then we come back and we say, well, what if we were to design, like a randomized trial to see
If it works or
if
not.
this is really if we're replicating what we found with the
I
observational
think
study.
that's is like such an important part of it is like it's really doing our due diligence of saying, well, what's already here,
Mm-hmm.
and then how do we engage as thought partners around what is surfacing and here in your district or in this context, right? Because I do think that the problem, and I guess this is a question I have for you too, but I think the problem that we end up in as researchers is often thinking, oh, I've got an idea of what's working, I have my idea about learning, and we kind of forget like the nuance and the complication of like the in practice part, right? Of like the day-to-day stuff where you sort of imagine it in this sort of isolated
Yeah.
or insular thing, but when it is rolling out with like real teachers, real kids, and real practice, it's not as simple as we have in our mind,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
That's a really good point. I mean, a
Mhm.
lot of researchers don't take into consideration all of the, what I refer to as fidelity of implementation details that and how to model all those fidelity of implementation data points that you could get, like how often were kids exposed?
Right.
Or how much time
What's
did
the
kids
dosage?
spend with an intervention? Like, can we collect that data on all the kids
Yeah.
Right.
Now that's something that needs to probably be specified in advance to say,
Mm-hmm.
we need to know what the frequency of intervention is and how much time, or whether or not the intervention was delivered with good quality over those periods of time. You know,
Yeah.
that,
Mhm.
all of those things matter in trying to determine whether or not an intervention actually worked or not, and how we quantify those things and build them into models.
Yeah.
To me, that's a really important part of what we're doing with our researchers,
Yeah.
but they need to be, there's a big gap to fill there.
There
With
is.
practitioners and researchers to make that
And I
come
think
to fruition.
that's exactly right. Well, and I think that that's why, I mean, there's a whole, body of work out of like improvement science and that space, talking about more like integrity to the, whatever the initiative is. So like rather than thinking about it as like, are we implementing it lockstep?
Mhm.
Are we implementing it in a way that makes sense for this context,
Right.
but it's still aligned with the intent
Right.
of whatever that
Yeah.
initiative was, yeah.
There's one time I was talking to one of my colleagues. She's more in the research part of education.
Mhm.
We're just talking about how many educational researchers have not stepped their foot on a campus.
Yeah.
If you think about like
Well, I mean, I've
really-
stepped on a campus, but I haven't actually worked at one. So.
like or just be
Yeah.
there in one of the classrooms just to see how is a day life
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
classroom. And sometimes when you don't have the context, you don't know how
Well, I need to do a field
time is
trip.
being
You
spent.
should.
I need to do a field trip.
I mean, and even,
I want to come to Prosper.
you should. Could he?
We'll see. We'll talk after this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even as someone who, I was a high school teacher in the Seattle area for several years, but even so, that was a while ago. Like,
Mhm.
things are different now. Decades later, post-COVID, like the realities of what teachers are dealing with and what school leaders are dealing with now is different than
How?
what I was.
How is
dealing
it
with.
different now?
Well,
I'm putting you on the spot.
I think that there's a lot.
Like, is there more pressure now for
There's-
teachers to perform, or just more things for them to do? Or?
There's different accountability expectations on teachers for sure. I think that teachers are under more pressure. There is an obsession with data, and I'm not to put it down. I mean, like we're talking about, it's important.
And sometimes they get overwhelmed.
But if we're all PLC districts, we have all these like data driven circles. It's like at some point, what does it even mean? Like I think the value of it is kids sort of like it's just another thing that we're doing and we're stressed out about it and we gotta show growth and like so there is a pressure around that. I also think that students right now who have gone through COVID, I do think that we're seeing differences around, and for teachers too, around emotional regulation, around like managing stress and anxiety. There is something.
Yeah, I can see where that could be.
There
a real,
is some residue from going through that experience that we haven't fully dealt with or addressed. We kind of just continue to kind of push forward post-COVID, and I think there's a lot.
Do you see that with the teachers at Prosper?
Well, Prosper, I see a sort of different situation because we always consider Prosper as destination district, both for students and for teachers. So we worked actually a lot in providing our teachers and our staff the opportunity to grow, the opportunity to kind of work to create a really positive culture in our campuses, in our administration, to support teachers. So we actually we facilitate the district improvement plan, and in one of the early sessions, I asked them about talk about your experience in Prosper. I heard repetitively a lot of teachers saying, hey, they feel very supported in Prosper, but then when you're looking at the state level data, look at the retention rate for teachers, it's not good. A lot of people are leaving the.
We should do a post-pandemic stress study on teachers.
Yeah. Yes.
To see, I'm sure somebody's doing it, but
Yes.
So TA, I think they had a teacher task force to looking teacher retention task force. They have some reports, so that might be a good start point to looking at it. They're looking at asking teachers, why do you quit the profession, or what make you stay with the profession? They have a lot of data in there. They have a task force.
all right, let's talk about 10 for a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the Texas Evaluation Network, tell us a little bit about it. How long has it been around? How big is it? Who all is a part of it?
You can talk about your role in it too. 'Cause I
Yeah,
don't know if we
yeah,
said that
yeah.
yet. Yeah.
So I'm the currently president of the 10 Tax Evaluation Network. But you got me on how many years we have been around. I actually don't know.
A long time.
Well,
I'm assuming,
long time,
I'm
over
assuming it's
decades.
been
So
a
we're
couple of
young.
decades at least.
Yes,
you know.
we're a young organization. So we are the
20th century developed network.
pretty much like that.
Yeah.
So we are a local AEA affiliate for the American Evaluation
Gotcha.
Association. And then one of the things we're trying really hard is to support the evaluation work. The work of the people who consider themselves as program evaluators or people who might consider themselves an evaluator but doing evaluation work. So we provide professional development opportunities. Every year we host either virtual or in-person meeting to kind of talk about evaluation, to present the work you have been doing. And then we create a lot of local networking opportunity for evaluators, just to get to know each other and then knowing peers around your region and areas.
Okay. So about how many people are showing up at your conference?
Well, I think last year we had 150
Okay,
virtual conferences.
that's pretty good
Great.
size.
That's pretty good.
For
Yes.
people that are just doing evaluation stuff, that's
Mhm.
pretty
That's
decent.
great
And
size.
then we have presenters from like all over the world too. We have presenters from foreign presenters and presenters from outside the state as well. So we're growing really on a really good trajectory for 10.
What's like the conversation in 10 right now, or conversations?
Conversations we kind of had is we know that a lot of our members potentially lost their jobs or is facing financial cuts. So we're trying really hard to see what can we do to support them. What are the resources? We continue to post job offerings. We provide networking opportunities and trying to help our members for those who might be in a tough situation right
I
now.
would think, like, particularly in the state, we can talk just about the state of Texas, but the way funding is gonna happen, it's gonna be different for everybody going
Yeah,
forward,
that's
right?
right.
If the money still has to come from the federal level, but now I guess am I wrong in thinking it's gonna come through Texas Education Agency? Or do you know?
For evaluation part of it,
Well, for education, education, research, and evaluation, period.
that I don't think I'm the best person to answer that because I don't know too much about the funding part of it.
I mean, I think some investigation, not investigation, but I mean conversations with people at TEA about whether or not some of these federal funds, like IES is gone, so the federal government I'm assuming still has money appropriated for education research. Is that money going to flow now through states? And if so, what mechanisms is TEA putting in place to do that? I mean,
Yeah.
and how is that going to flow? Somebody's bound to know the answers to those questions.
Yeah.
Maybe they just tell me flat out, no, it's not going to happen. But
Someone in Austin.
Yeah, someone in Austin?
yeah, it's somebody in Austin.
Yeah.
I don't know who it is.
Yeah, we'll find out.
Okay, I count on that.
Yeah.
So, with respect to 10, though, we've had conversations about how 10 and Trend might possibly do some collaborative stuff. And the two of you were key in those conversations. So, kind of recap for folks that are listening in what it was that we kind of talked about. I'm going to put you on the spot to make you articulate it.
I think we talked about how can we connect our members to let each other's members know, hey, there's a trend, but there's 10s, to connecting our members to see maybe they will see double fits. Oh, for example, I joined Trend, right?
Yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure there's other members in 10 who potentially work in school district or work in the consulting firm might want to join Trend as well. And then,
I think, yes, I think that's a big part of it. And the one thing that came out of our last Trend meeting was I felt like a palpable desire in the room. And for folks who weren't there, we were having a panel discussion with other district folks who were in a similar position. But there was this desire to essentially have an opportunity to like make the issues and research visible to each other, right? So where do we have with education researchers in the area, where do we have sort of interest and skill set in terms of research partnership, but how can researchers get insight into the needs of districts and what are they already trying to make sense of, what are they working on, so that we can kind of have a space to come together so that we're in the conversation together. I think it's like doing that thing where we're more intentionally making it visible, what's the work that's already going on, and where might we see opportunity for that collaboration and working together. And so we sort of pitched this idea of like, well, maybe we should have a gathering, or we should have some kind of sort of research conference.
Right.
And that's where you shared, well, actually 10 does this every year. And so maybe we can, that's a
Yes.
starting place, is coming together.
And then we talked about for the 10 virtual conferences, we normally host like networking sessions in different geographic areas. And then maybe for next year, 10 and Trend can sponsor it together. Just
Yes.
Yeah,
have
so
a
I'll say,
local meetup.
Trend is pretty much focused on just the North Texas area, so it would fit really well for the regional thing. But what I think it does is it opens up, so we have like, for Trend, we're a little bit limited because we've got practitioners that we're working with, but we've also got researchers. What we're missing are the people that are in between. A lot of times, those are people that are independent evaluators. They don't have academic appointments,
Yeah.
maybe. They have their own consulting firm or
Right.
whatever they do.
Yeah.
And these are people that need to be included in the,
Yes.
in
That's
the
right.
whole ball of wax here, where we're talking about research practitioner partnerships. I mean, at least in North Texas,
Yeah.
which is where we're working, I would love to see those people engaged in Trend.
Yes.
And so through 10,
Yeah.
my sense is that we gain access to a whole bunch of people
Yes.
that might be able to contribute to what we're doing in developing these researcher practitioner partnerships.
Yeah,
with
that's
districts.
right. Yeah, that's right. And because if we think about, if we are really trying to bridge more connectivity between research and practice, we have to think about who are the different stakeholders, who are the different system actors, and how are we bringing them into the same conversation. Yeah.
And I think I was so excited when I first got the first email about Trend. I was like, oh my God, this is such a great organization, just to be able to build in the connection. Because you always hear about there's a disconnect between educational researchers and then practitioners, right? I remember like even in grad school we learn about, hey, there's academic writing, but then there's always the next step, because hardly imagine you would see a practitioner pull up a peer review article, start reading
yeah,
about it
right.
and learning it.
Let alone have
Exactly.
access to it.
Right, you have to pay for subscription to
Yeah.
access those. They don't have access, they don't have
That
time.
is another step down the road, I think, for Trend. Okay, so building these researcher practitioner partnerships where we can
And
do the
having
research
resources.
studies
Yeah.
is one thing, because researchers are excited about that because they get to publish papers,
Right.
But these findings, translating those findings into practice, and or at least informing, like if I were to do a study with Prosper ISD, for example, let's say we did some kind of EL type of study, and I found, I got the findings, then it's me going to the school board and presenting that information to them and it's not gonna be the way I would do it if I were at an academic meeting,
No.
right?
No, and I do think that if we think about the academic timeline of like getting something published, I mean, we're looking at years out.
Right.
When the practice need is immediate.
True.
Right? I want to know if next year I should continue to do this same intervention.
Yeah.
And if I don't have feedback on it, then I don't know how to make that decision, right?
Right.
And so I feel like we have to figure out how do we, as researchers, work on the practice timeline.
Right.
Right, and like really turn things around in a way that is usable for practice needs. And I feel like we really have a lot to learn and grow in that
Yeah,
area.
I agree.
I completely agree. So one of the sessions I attended in one of our virtual conferences, I think he is from Houston, Delman. Somebody saying about how to communicate with the community, how to communicate with the public.
Mhm.
It's not necessarily throughout, hey, I did this, I looked at A, B, C, D, and
Yeah,
I checked
here were
the
my
data
research
quality,
questions, yeah.
and then here's the methods I really like,
Yeah.
because that get overwhelmed.
Mhm.
People are like, oh my god.
You've taken
They
a
don't
nap
wanna
in the
hear
middle of
that.
I
that,
have no idea that person's talking about. Let me go to a different section.
Yeah.
Right? It's really making sure you are speaking in a way that people can understand. And
Yeah.
that's why there's so much emphasis on, if you're thinking about for program evaluation, stakeholder engagement is such an important part of it.
Yes.
But if we are using all the academic language in there, we are creating obstacles to
Yes, that's
Yeah.
for the
right.
stakeholders to be
Yeah.
engaged in.
Yeah, as researchers, we lose sight all the time of who are we actually working for. We think it's just to get these things published, but that can't be the end. That can't be where our research stops. I
No.
mean, it's got to be, we've got to be able to carry that message out and communicate it in ways that are helpful and useful for people in schools. And if Trend can champion that kind of effort for researchers, then, you
Yes.
know, and I think a lot of it is generative, right? It starts with, where do these studies begin with initially? If they
Yeah.
start with school districts saying, hey, we want to know about this, and we need a researcher that will help us figure this out, well, it just, the natural conclusion is that the researcher's got to be able to articulate to the
Yes.
stakeholders that started the thing,
Yes.
this is what I found,
Yeah.
and this is how it can be useful for you.
Yueyue, where do you think we can build better sort of trust around those processes? Like I'm thinking, for example, of times where I've done partnership work with districts, and what's important is that up front we come to like an MOU, we have some kind of agreement right away where it's really clear about, you know, what we're doing, what we're not doing, and what we're sort of on the hook for communicating back to the district. I'm wondering, like in your role and like from, you know, Prosper's perspective, like what are you looking for and to see in something like that? Or is it an MOU? Like how do you sort of feel trusting of a research partnership?
So I'm gonna speak from the perspective of my, like all the years I've worked in the
Yes,
district.
please.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about what I served on the role of the district research review committee,
Mm-hmm.
if you're thinking about we got an application, somebody wanted to do research in this district,
Probably a
One of-
doctoral student.
doctoral students or faculties as well, right? We got more requests from doctoral students because they want to
I'm
do
sure.
collect data for their
Yeah.
dissertations. The first thing we typically looked at is this activity is going to benefit our students,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes, right.
Our goal is to, as a district, I believe our goal is to support our students, support our community, support our
100%.
teachers, rather than get the publication. And-
Yeah.
Right? And then, so that's our first goal, is it beneficial to our students, to our staff, to our district, to our community? And that needs to be the first thing when researchers are thinking about is,
Really demonstrating
do I
that.
see, is
Sorry,
the
go
district going to benefit
Mm-hmm.
from me doing this in here? And then second part is, a lot of times it's, don't leave the playground dirty. Because we do, like, I had experiences where we get a initial application, here's the research, here's what I'm gonna do, and then here's the type of data we're gonna collect. And then somehow we approved it, but somehow in the end, we heard from teachers who were participating that reached out to us saying, hey, they're asking for A, B, C, D, can I give it to them? Which is not included in the previous, they were approved.
Yeah,
And that's
not
a-
good.
Violation.
Violation.
Yeah.
And then that's a big no-no, because as
If
a
it's not in their
district, we need to
protocol, it shouldn't
protect.
be. Yeah.
It should not be happen. It's, I promise you, that person probably had already made the changes with the university IRB. Just never bother to communicate to the district.
With the district.
But then
Well-
what it does is both, they kind of break the bridge.
I want to address what you said just before that, which has to do with, you know, researchers that first reaching out to you to do a research study. It happens to be their agenda. They don't know what the district wants to do. But I think there are plenty of researchers out there that would like to do what the district wants to do.
Yes,
It's a matter of not knowing.
That's exactly
We
right.
don't know
Mhm.
what the districts are interested in and what they need to know. And maybe we need a repository for Trend that where we get, maybe we circulate some kind of form or something to people in your offices and districts in North Texas to say, prioritize. Give us 10 research studies that your district really needs to have done. Specify it in some moderate level of detail. We could post that on our website.
Yeah.
We could, and make it available to our higher ed consortium for them to circulate those to researchers at their institutions, because we've got people from Texas A&M Commerce, we've got TCU, we've got UT Dallas. We've got different researchers involved in Trend that would be able to help us carry that
Yeah.
to their faculty. And maybe that would be a good thing to do. I don't know, because it needs to go that direction. In my view, the districts need to be saying, this is what we would like to know about.
Yeah, it should be practice driven.
Mm-hmm.
It really should be.
I think it
Right.
should.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
What do
which
you?
I think-
What do you think in terms of? Yeah. What would? Go ahead. Sorry.
I think that's a great idea. It's just saying that it's kind of like, as a district, we have our primary goal, but then we need help in answering these questions to support
Yes.
our primary goal. And that's
Yeah.
a great place where researchers can jump in to see, okay, I might be interested in teacher retention, right? It might not be exactly what I wanted to answer, but can I get something out of this?
Yes.
And then so the district get the support to help to help them answer the questions that they wanted to know.
I mean, I would get you to put down, what are the research questions you want answered? I mean, if you can come up with 3 or 4 research questions that you want an answer to, we put those out there in the repository, and
I'm
let
thinking
people
though,
look at
at the district level though, I might not be able to formulate the research question, but I could have the problem of practice, that like, this is the issue in practice. I need to figure out what is going on here. I don't know, that's my guess, but is that like, cause I don't know, do you feel like you would be at the ready of like, this is the research question?
Not necessarily, but I will be, it's probably more like, hey, I have a questions, I have a wonder about this thing. And then I think what makes it hard is every district runs some sort of differently, slightly
Yeah.
different, and then everybody's question could be very specific to a program or to a model they're implementing. So you should be able to find some commonalities in there, but
I
how
think
to
there's
build
a
a
hole
connection.
here for us to fill with Trend.
agree.
As I think about it more, this is something for us to work on in the coming year, maybe, as we start to, to where there's a practitioner-driven research agenda
That's right.
that we
That's
can
right.
put out there for researchers to look at and say, oh, and they could cherry pick the stuff that they're best at, and if they know that the district's interested, and there's a contact person to reach out to,
Yes. Yeah.
that's all they need.
Or on the other way around is if we have difficulty collecting questions from the district, right? The other way to flip around is that, hey, we have this resources, we have this list faculty A who do primary research in teacher retention or
Yes.
bilingual education, who is willing to work with the district to do certain type of do program evaluation or do empirical research to help you answer the question, then district could be looking at it to say, hey, I really want to do that, and then maybe we can find a partner.
That's right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a
Of
little
this.
bit of what we've started with the Speakers Bureau, although it's a little bit different. It's a little bit different, but it's a similar idea of kind of here are researchers who, this is their area, this is what they, they can offer and what they would be interested in doing if that maps onto a
Right.
need there.
But another thing just to consider is funding, the budget of it.
I think you're right. I mean, that's my biggest concern at this point, is how do we find ways to support, whenever we get a partnership put together, let's say that a district and a researcher agree, this is really important, we need to get going on this.
Right.
How do we support, at least in the North Texas area, how do we support getting those studies done? I can't imagine they're gonna be all that expensive to do. I mean, the districts are there, they're collecting data, you're collecting map data 3 times a year probably, and, we can look at multiple cohorts over multiple years probably of interventions in order to, replicate findings and stuff like that. But, at the same time, when we want to, I mean, if there's I don't know what the expenses are, but I can't imagine they're that big if the districts are already putting the intervention in place.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing the professional development already, they're doing the,
Right.
it's not like the researchers have to pay for it. It's already being done.
Yeah, if I think about it, I mean, one model for that is essentially starting small to build the relationship,
Mm-hmm.
using existing data for the intervention that's already being put into place by the district. And as faculty or graduate students, you are doing that research just as part of your appointment, right? Then you start to
Yep.
build up the relationship, you start to see what you're seeing, you're learning from the work that you're doing in collaboration, and then you're saying, well, what next from here? And then maybe at that point,
Right.
you're seeking out additional funding for something that's going beyond that scope. But
You know what? That
Mhm.
just what you just said kind of remind me. Have you guys heard about the Harvard strategic data project,
Mhm.
where they actually either institution or like let's say district can sponsor somebody to do, or you can apply it. What it does is that it provides the training, it provides a lot of PD in there, and then these person actually work in those
Oh.
sites.
okay.
If we think about,
Mm-hmm.
just think big, dream
Yeah.
big, dream
Yeah.
broad.
Yeah.
That could be a perfect site for students to
great.
Mm-hmm.
be
Yes.
the assistantship. I know when I was in
Mm.
Irvin, if I remember correctly, in the office I worked before, there are like university grad students assistant. That's their site.
Oh, nice, okay.
And it's a collaboration between district and university to kind of like the students here, and then they're working on the district regular work, like their typical job, and then there's research component built in there as
Actually,
well.
I think the girlfriend of mine I was telling you about earlier, who's at the University of Washington, I think she essentially has a similar model where she's working as like an assistant principal at a school while she's getting her EDD, but like it's part of her experience is working in that role and in that capacity. It sounds a little bit different, but it's a similar kind of model, right? Where you're
Or even if it's just the summer.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
summer internship opportunities.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know
that's
a lot of
great.
students.
That's a good
will do that.
idea.
Because I feel like one of the first thing I learned after I graduated is, in grad school you learn about data, you learn about how to clean the data, you learn about the situations. But the first year, what I struggled the most is the difference between what you do in the classroom and in the reality.
That's
check.
right. Yeah.
And I know how many times
Mhm.
I checked all the assumptions, and I was like, oh my god, this is not matching. What about this is not working? What do I do? What do I do? And like, I have so much missing data. I know the data is not clean until one of my coworkers years ago told me that. Just remember that kind of make my heart like put my heart down a little bit. The data is not clean. We know it's not clean.
Yeah.
It was not clean before.
It's never
Yeah.
perfect.
It's never going to be clean. So just know that. Be okay with it. Because I struggle so
yeah.
much not.
Yes.
The data you get to from the classroom, it's relatively clean. A lot cleaner compared to what you,
Sure.
Oh yeah.
the real data you'll be
Oh
getting.
yeah, exactly.
And then just having those real world experience will bring so much different insight to the students. Just as a first year after a graduate, I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Totally.
Where did all the things I learned? What is the data that I used to work with coming
You're like,
from?
where's that perfectly curated data set?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where's it coming from? What am I getting? What am I missing?
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you for coming and joining us today. I know you got a dinner appointment. I don't know where you're headed to dinner, but.
Kamado Loco.
Oh, really? Oh, I'm jealous.
With one of my practice partners, actually.
No kidding.
Yeah, she's the director of early childhood education.
We got to have you
school
back,
programs.
and you can go to Komodo Loco with us for dinner.
Yeah.
It is an amazing place.
Yes. Will you come back and talk with us
I
again?
will,
Okay.
definitely I will. I'll come back and
We'll find-
listen too.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll find a reason to continue the conversation.
That's right.
But before we wrap up, can I ask my question?
No, you can't. Yes, you can. Of course you can.
I want to know. This is a thing we're going to try out. I want to know.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
I want to know. This can be personal or professional.
Mhm.
One thing that you are trying to learn or an area you're trying to grow in.
Oh, that's an awesome question.
So one area I'm just going to be vulnerable and transparent here that one area I am working very intentionally to grow is the being the collaborator for all the data project. Because in my previous role, I'm the doing person. A lot of the planning, kind of setting up things, how to build connections in departments. It's something my supervisor used to do, and I will be the one that, hey, we need to do this and get it done, and I get it done. In my new role, I am taking more responsibility of, hey, finding out the opportunities. How can we empower people? How can we introduce these things? And then I'm working intentionally on how can I do the project management? How can I start building a relationship? How can I tell people, hey, why we should look at data? And then here's how we can look at data. And then providing them tools to make it accessible to use data.
You're going to find yourself extremely busy.
So that's what
Good for you.
I'm working on right now. Hopefully I can be better
awesome.
next
Good
year.
for you.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and we know how busy you are, and your first week back, and you made it here.
Yeah.
Well, we thank
It was
you
quite
so
a
much.
long
Yeah.
drive to Denton, I have to say.
Yes, it's a trek.
You think that was bad? Why do you try to go back at this time of day?
Oh, don't tell her.
I think we have to
There's
end
a
the
lot-
session right now.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fun places and on the square. You
Yeah.
just occupied.
There's a lot of constructions on my way here. It's like roadblock here.
Yeah.
So
for
many.
sure.
Don't block that.
And every time I
Well,
think
it's
I've got
summer.
it figured out, there's more.
They do all that in the summer, mostly.
Right, to get it ready for this.
Apparently that it's going into the fall too.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay.
Well,
Thanks
again, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us on the North Texas Learning Curve podcast, and we will see you again soon.
That's right.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.